We're on Canto 10, Chapter 3, Vasudev's prayers to Lord Krishna when he appears as Vasudev. We're just working on the purport of 10.3.22.
Unfortunately, society is in such an uncivilized state that there are so-called Mahatmas who are prepared to kill cows and children and stop the Hare Krishna movement. Such uncivilized activities were actually demonstrated in opposition to the Hare Krishna movement's Bombay Center, Hare Krishna land. As Kamsa was not expected to kill the beautiful child of Devaki and Vasudev, the uncivilized society, although unhappy about the advancement of the Krishna consciousness movement, cannot be expected to stop it. 10.3.22 purport.
So the Hare Krishna land in Juhu, this was one of Prabhupada's greatest victories, because the person who owned this land, what happened was, Srila Prabhupada, before he went to America in the 60s, he went to Bombay because he used to have work in Bombay when he was a Grihastha, so he knew Bombay. And he needed a ticket to America, so he approached Sumati Morarji, and Sumati Morarji agreed to give him a ticket. And between the time when he was about to go to America and when he finally left, he would go to the house of Sumati Morarji, which is just walking distance from our temple in Juhu, and he would give her Bhagavatam classes. So Prabhupada knew the area. He knew how beautiful it was, with the beach right there, and he saw it as the ideal place to make a beautiful temple in Bombay. He didn't want it down in the city. So when Mr. Nair, he didn't know that Mr. Nair was a demon. When Mr. Nair offered to sell the land to him, Prabhupada also didn't know that he had previously sold the same land twice and cheated people by just taking their money and then breaking the contract. So Prabhupada was thinking, this is a very nice gentleman, and Mr. Nair was thinking, oh, this is a great fool. He's giving him money and I'm just going to run away with his money. Prabhupada explains this. So Mr. Nair, from the start, Prabhupada gave him like 2 lakhs, and there was an agreement 14 lakhs for the land. From the start, Mr. Nair started his mischief. He wouldn't give the conveyance. He just wanted more and more money. And it looked like he was going to cheat Prabhupada. So it was a big battle. And the devotees who had to live there, it was very difficult for them. So they wanted to leave. It was only Prabhupada who wanted that land in Bombay. And finally, Mr. Nair came to the point, because he was up against a pure devotee. He had a heart attack, and this is what happened.
Please accept my blessings. This morning, Shrutakirti received telephonic message from Bali Maradan. It is understood that Mr. Nair is dead. So it is good news that Narasimhadev has killed a demon like him. Prahlad Maharaj said that even a saintly person becomes pleased when a scorpion or a snake is killed. So if it is a fact that Nair is dead, it is a matter of great pleasure for all devotees.
As a matter of fact, one time Prabhupada wrote in a letter that all the devotees will go back to Godhead, and there's a big ISKCON in the spiritual world. Everyone will go back except for Mr. Nair.
Yet we must face many difficulties in many different ways. Although Krishna cannot be killed, Vasudev, as the father of Krishna, was trembling because in affection he thought that Kamsa would immediately come and kill his son. Similarly, although the Krishna consciousness movement and Krishna are not different and no asuras can check it, we are afraid that at any moment the asuras can stop this movement in any part of the world. 10.3.22 purport.
So Srila Prabhupada was sending his disciples all over the world to open temples, and in the meantime, in Prabhupada's phase 2 of ISKCON, he came back to ISKCON, to India, to establish major international centers here. And in 1972, in 3 weeks, Srila Prabhupada did the groundbreaking ceremony first in Mayapur in March, and then 1 week later he came to Vrindavan and did the groundbreaking ceremony, and then 1 week later he went to Bombay and did the groundbreaking ceremony. And it wasn't that it was easy in any of these 3 places. There was opposition from many different parties, but Prabhupada was determined to make these temples. And why did he make the temples? He made the temples for 2 major reasons. One was for his disciples to be able to come here, the foreigners, because in general, foreigners were not welcomed in India. But these foreigners were genuine Vaishnavas, so he wanted to establish temples. And number 2, because Prabhupada had a plan. He wanted to re-establish the Vedic culture within India. It was just like scratching the surface here. It was already there. Prabhupada compared the Vedic culture here to an elephant. An elephant is valuable whether it's alive or dead. So although the Vedic culture was dying here, Prabhupada wanted to bring it back to life by establishing these major ISKCON temples.
After this prayer of Vasudeva and Devaki, After this prayer of Vasudeva, Devaki, the mother of Krishna, offered her prayers. She was very frightened because of her brother's atrocities. Krishna Book, Chapter 3. Shukadeva Goswami continued, thereafter, having seen that her child had all the symptoms of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Devaki, who was very much afraid of Kamsa and unusually astonished, began to offer prayers to the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.23.
Now, every day when we put on tilak on our body, the last tilak that we apply is on the top of our head. Shri Vasudevaya Namaha. Now, Vasudev and Devaki were such great devotees that they were able to offer these completely intricate and full of knowledge prayers to their little child who had appeared as Vishnu in front of them. So they were extremely wonderful, powerful, and pure devotees of the Lord.
The word Suvismita means astonished, is significant in this verse. Devaki and her husband, Vasudeva, were assured that their child was the Supreme Personality of Godhead and could not be killed by Kamsa. But because of affection, as they thought of Kamsa's previous atrocities, they were simultaneously afraid that Krishna would be killed. This is why the word Suvismita has been used. Similarly, we are also astounded upon thinking of whether this movement will be killed by the Asuras or will continue to advance without fear. 10.3.23 purport.
So Srila Prabhupada, he gives the analogy that just as the devotees, Vasudeva and Devaki, although they saw Krishna as their little child and loved him with great affection, they were also very afraid for him because of Kamsa and the demons. So Srila Prabhupada, in the same way, just as with Radha Rasa Bihari, he made a promise to Rasa Bihari that he would make a temple for him. And here Krishna Balaram, that was Prabhupada's innermost desire, to make a temple here. He loved all the deities so much that he established, but at the same time he was very concerned that the Asuras would cause trouble while establishing these temples.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Northern Ocean, 8th wave, Maitri Vairi Sthiti, the friends and enemies of Vatsalya Rasa, Hasya, Karuna and Bhayanaka, Bhishma Bhit. These rasas, they are the friends of Vatsalya Rasa. Madhura, Yuddha Veera, Dasya and Raudra rasa directed toward Krishna are enemies of Vatsalya rasa. The five primary rasas are favorable for Adbhuta rasa. When friendly rasas mix, rasa becomes sweeter. In pure Vatsalya rasa, there is no friendship with other primary rasas.
So here Srila Prabhupada talks about the word suvismita. And suvismita is like the word adbhuta. So adbhuta, this hasya, karuna, and bhayankar. Hasya means humor, like you're joking with your child. So of course that's a friend to Vatsalya Ras. Then karuna is what Devaki and Vasudev are expressing in their love. They're so concerned about their child that this atrocious demon Kamsa is going to come and kill him. So that's the karuna secondary rasa of the 7 secondary rasas. And then Bhayanak, Bisham Beat, extreme, Bisham means terrible fear. At the same time, while they're showing so much karuna and affection and praying for their little child, they have so much fear of Kamsa that he's going to come and try to kill Krishna. So these 3 secondary rasas, they make the primary rasa of Vatsalya Bhav sweeter by the addition of these. Now, the 5 primary rasas are favorable for Adbhuta rasa. Adbhut means this suvismita. Adbhut means wonderful. When you see the wonderful qualities of Krishna, all the 5 primary rasas appreciate this adbhuta qualities of the Supreme Lord, and that's why they're all friends of adbhuta ras. Then in pure Vatsalya ras, there is no friendship with other primary rasas. That means sometimes we hear that Balaram has a mixture of 3 different rasas. Dasya, in the form of Ananta Shesha, he's the servant of the Lord. And then Sakya, of course, as Balaram, he's the closest friend. But he also has a Vatsalya ras mixed in there, because he's the older brother. So he's always looking how to protect Krishna. And in fact, Mother Yasoda doesn't even let Krishna go to herd the cows unless his big brother goes with him. But in pure Vatsalya ras, nothing else is mixed. This Vatsalya ras is so special and so pure, because just like this Hasya, Karuna, and Bhayanak, it enriches the Vatsalya Prem of the parent for the child. So this is what we're seeing right now, how this Vatsalya ras is enriched, is made favorable, more favorable with this Adbhuta ras, this Suvismita, and then this Bhayanak and Karuna.
I was just wondering why this Raudra ras is anger. Raudra ras is anger, right? So sometimes mothers are angry with their children, like in Vatsalya. Even Mother Yashoda was angry.
Raudra doesn't mean that type of thing.
Not that type of anger. Devaki said, "My dear Lord, your eternal forms like Narayana, Lord Rama, Shesha, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, Baladeva, and millions of similar incarnations emanating from Vishnu are described in the Vedic literature as original. You are original because all your forms as incarnations are outside of this material creation." Krishna Book, Chapter 3.
So Devaki, although a woman, although having been in prison now for the past 8 years, she was in full Krishna consciousness. She understood everything about the Supreme Lord and the different tattvas. And here she's just expressing herself, trying to praise her son by informing him, of course he already knows, but that she understands his greatness. And this is the way she's offering her prayers to her little child.
Your form was existing before this cosmic manifestation was created. Your forms are eternal and all-pervading. They are self-effulgent, changeless, and uncontaminated by material qualities. Such eternal forms are ever cognizant and full of bliss. They are situated in transcendental goodness and are always engaged in different pastimes. You are not limited to a particular form only. All such transcendental eternal forms are self-sufficient. I can understand that you are the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Krishna Book, Chapter 3.
So it's just like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the sages had gathered together for 1,000 years, and they inquired from Sutta Goswami. They wanted to hear all the pastimes of Rama and Keshava. They wanted to hear their kapat pastimes. That means the different ways that they cheated the devotees, and all the different incarnations, how they appeared, what their pastimes were, what their forms were. They wanted to hear everything about the person they loved, who was Krishna, and Krishna manifests as Vishnu. So this is love. It's not that we just love one aspect of a person. No, when we love someone, we love everything about the person. And Devaki, because she loved the Supreme Lord, and she performed so much tapasya with her husband to receive him as a son, she loved every aspect of him, not just in this one form as her child.
Sri Devaki said, "My dear Lord, there are different Vedas, some of which describe you as unperceivable through words and the mind. Yet you are the origin of the entire cosmic manifestation. You are Brahman, the greatest of everything, full of effulgence like the sun. You have no material cause. You are free from change and deviation, and you have no material desires. Thus the Vedas say that you are the substance. Therefore, my Lord, you are directly the origin of all Vedic statements, and by understanding you, one gradually understands everything. You are different from the light of Brahman and Paramatma, yet you are not different from them. Everything emanates from you. Indeed, you are the cause of all causes, Lord Vishnu, the light of all transcendental knowledge." Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.24.
Now there's some class of Vaishnavas. Of course, a Vaishnava means a devotee of Vishnu. We're not called Krishnavas. We're called Vaishnavas. So there's some class of Vaishnavas who strongly believe that Vishnu is the supreme cause of everything, and that even Krishna is one of his incarnations, one of his temporary manifestations here. But the Vaishnavas, as per the teachings in the Sampradaya coming from Lord Brahma, Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. So Lord Brahma, who's the most intelligent and the most qualified of all the Jiva souls, the Jiva Tattva, he confirms that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and his name is Govinda, and his form is Satchidananda Vigraha. So there's no question of debate. We have to take it from the source, from the Mahatmas, from the Mahajans. And Lord Brahma, he says that Krishna is the origin even of the Vishnu Tattvas.
Vishnu is the origin of everything, and there is no difference between Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna, because both of them are Vishnu Tattva. From the Rig Veda we understand, Om Tad Vishnoho Paramam Padam. The original substance is the all-pervading Lord Vishnu, who is also Paramatma and effulgent Brahman. The living entities are also part and parcel of Vishnu, who has various energies. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriya Cha. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 13.65 purport. Vishnu or Krishna is therefore everything. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita 10.8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.24 purport.
So who's speaking that? Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarva. Krishna is speaking that. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha. And again throughout the Bhagavad-Gita, Arjuna addresses the Supreme Lord as Bhagavan. So, and this Bhagavan is Vasudev. He was in a two-armed form at the Battle of Kurukshetra and throughout his Leela there. So, the Vishnu and the Krishna, Prabhupada says that there is no difference between Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna because both of them are Vishnu Tattva. Just like when we offer obeisances to Tulsi Devi in the morning, when Srila Prabhupada gave the mantra, the original mantra, Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pranedevi Satyavatya Namo Namaha. He gave the mantra as Vishnu Bhakti. And the devotee understands that when we say Vishnu Bhakti, we mean Krishna Bhakti, because there's no difference, as Srila Prabhupada says here. Vishnu or Krishna is therefore everything.
Krishna, therefore, is the original cause of everything. Sarva Karana Karanam. Brahma Samhita 5.1. When Vishnu expands in his all-pervading aspect, we should understand him to be the Nirakar Nirvishesha Brahma Jyoti. Although everything emanates from Krishna, he is ultimately a person. Aham Adirhi Devanam. Bhagavad-Gita 10.2. He is the origin of Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwar, and from them many other demigods are manifested. Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad-Gita 14.27, Brahmano hi pratisthaham, Brahman rests upon me. 10.3.24 purport.
Now here we have Lord Shiva meditating on his worshipable deity, Shankarshan, and there's a whole chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto where the sages, they wanted to confirm who is the greatest of the three, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. And they appointed Bhrigu Muni to test all three of them. And ultimately, we'll come to this later if we get that far in Krishna book. Ultimately, Bhrigu confirmed to all the sages that yes, Vishnu is supreme of the three. And in fact, Shankar worships Vishnu and Brahma also worships Vishnu. And the Brahma Jyoti is emanating from his body, and that Brahma Jyoti has the qualities of Nirakar, that means unchanging, and Nirvishesh, means everything is all oneness. So this is just the emanation from the Supreme Lord's body.
The Lord also says, Yepi anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvitaha tepi mameva kaunteya yajanti avidhi purvakam. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but it is offered without true understanding. Bhagavad-Gita 9.23. There are many persons who worship different demigods, considering all of them to be separate gods, which in fact they are not. The fact is that every demigod and every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. Mamaivansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Bhagavad Gita 15.7. The demigods are also in the category of living entities. They are not separate gods, but men whose knowledge is immature and contaminated by the modes of material nature worship various demigods according to their intelligence. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.24 purport.
Now here we see the worship of Lord Vishnu, but the impersonalists, they also worship Vishnu. They believe that this Brahma Jyoti assumes different forms of the demigods. And when they have to worship, they choose, we'll read on about the Panchopasana, the 5 major demigods that they worship. But it's just temporary worship, because according to them, the Mayavadis, when they attain perfection, there's no need for any more worship of a personal form. So one can worship Vishnu even as an impersonalist, but with avidipurvaka. They're not doing it properly, without true understanding.
Impersonalists like Shankaracharya recommend the worship of 5 forms known as Panchopasana, which include Lord Vishnu. The impersonalists imagine the various demigods to be forms of the Lord. For example, the Mayavadis worship 5 demigods, Panchopasana. They do not actually believe in the form of the Lord, but for the sake of worship they imagine some form to be God. Generally they imagine a form of Vishnu, a form of Shiva, and forms of Ganesha, the sun god, and Durga. This is called Panchopasana. The Srimad Bhagavatam 6.4.34 purport. In the Brahma Samhita, there are mantras offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, the sun god, Lord Ganesha, as well as Lord Vishnu, all of whom are worshipped by the impersonalists as Panchopasana. In their temples, impersonalists install these deities, and this system is continuing at present in India under the guise of Hindu religion. Vaishnavas can also worship all these demigods, but only on the principle of the Brahma Samhita, which is recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We may note in this connection that mantras for worshipping Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Goddess Durga, the sun god, and Ganesha as described in Brahma Samhita, Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 7.157 purport.
So therefore Prabhupada gives permission, as does Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he gave us the Brahma Samhita, that yes, we can worship these 5 different demigods, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Durga, Surya Narayan, and Ganesh, but according to the understanding of the Brahma Samhita, that they're all servants of the Supreme Lord, and everything they're doing is for His satisfaction. They're not separate gods, which is what the impersonalists imagine, that the Supreme Brahman accepts different forms.
Therefore, they are rebuked in Bhagavad-Gita, Kamaistai ritagyana prapatyante anya devata, Bhagavad-Gita 7.20, because they are unintelligent and not very advanced and have not properly considered the truth. They take to the worship of various demigods or speculate according to various philosophies, such as the Mayavad philosophy. Krishna, Vishnu, is the actual origin of everything, as stated in the Vedas. Yasya bhasha sarvamidam vibhati. The absolute truth is described later in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.28.15 as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Yad Brahma Jyoti Sanatanam. The Brahma Jyoti is Sanatan, eternal, yet it is dependent on Krishna. Brahmano hi pratisthaham. 10.3.24 purport.
So, because our lifetime is short in Kali Yuga, we don't have time to study all of the Shastras, all of the writings of all the Acharyas, all of the Sampradayas, but we can concentrate on the particular Sampradaya that we're members of, and our Acharya, topmost Acharya, is Lord Brahma. So we have Brahma Samhita to take our essential knowledge from, how we should see this universe, and how we should understand the Supreme Lord, because He's given all knowledge there. First of all about Krishna, about the construction of both the spiritual and the material worlds, and about the different inhabitants of both of those worlds. So, because we only have maximum 100 years, better we study very carefully this Brahma Samhita, and then we can understand that Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna, which are the first 3 Ishvara Parama, the first 3 words in Brahma Samhita. Lord Brahma does not waste time. In the very beginning, he confirms who the Supreme Lord is.
The Brahma Samhita states that the Lord is all-pervading. Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastham. Brahma Samhita 5.35. He is within this universe and He is within the atom as Paramatma. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti kotishvashesh vasudhadi vibhuti bhinnam. Brahma Samhita 5.40. Brahman is also not independent of him. Therefore, whatever a philosopher may describe is ultimately Krishna or Lord Vishnu. Sarvam khaluidam Brahma. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Bhagavad-Gita 10.12. According to different phases of understanding, Lord Vishnu is differently described, but in fact, he is the origin of everything. 10.3.24 purport.
So here Srila Prabhupada in the prayers spoken by Devaki is asserting, according to the Brahma Sampradaya, who Lord Krishna is, who Lord Vishnu is, and how we can understand them. Now, because Kali Yuga, our intelligence is not sharp, we can't remember things very easily, Lord Chaitanya was so merciful that he gave to us, as per also the instructions of Lord Brahma for Kali Yuga, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So if this philosophy is over our head, if we can't understand everything that Devaki and Vasudeva are describing about the Supreme Lord, we just have to chant Hare Krishna, and Krishna in our heart will purify us, and we'll be able to go back to him in the spiritual world.
Because Devaki was an unalloyed devotee, she could understand that the same Lord Vishnu had appeared as her son. Therefore, after the prayers of Vasudeva, Devaki offered her prayers. Srila Prabhupada then concludes in this purport a paragraph from Krishna book. He then continues, "We may conclude, therefore, that Lord Vishnu is everything, although he is also different from everything. This is the Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva philosophy." Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.24 purport.
So Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva, simultaneously one and different. Just like the ocean is massive, and the drop of ocean has all the same qualities as the big ocean, or gold. All the gold in a gold mine and one little ring. The gold is the same, but the quantity is different. So quality and quantity, simultaneously one and different.
After millions of years at the time of cosmic annihilation, when everything manifested and unmanifested is annihilated by the force of time, the five gross elements enter into the subtle conception, and the manifested categories enter into the unmanifested substance. At that time, you alone remain, and you are known as Ananda Shesha Naga. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.25.
So we understand from Vedic cosmology that at the top of each universe is the Svetadvip, or the Vaikuntha planet, where Vishnu is residing as Kiradakshayi Vishnu. And then all of the planetary systems are being supported within the stem of the lotus from which Lord Brahma has appeared. And Lord Brahma's planet is just below this Svetadvip. There are other heavenly planets there, Janalok, Mahalok, Siddhalok, like that. But Lord Brahma is there at the topmost. And then all of these 14 planetary systems are being supported there around the stem. And just as if you have at the top, all of these planets are rotating around Svetadvip. Just like you can see at night, the North Pole star, that's the Svetadvip. All of the planets rotate around that North Pole star. But then, at the time of annihilation, Krishna has given the living entities so much opportunity to become liberated from this material dark world, but they just didn't get it. They're in ignorance, lack of intelligence, avidipurvaka. They're still trying for immortality and happiness within this material world. So, therefore, time of annihilation, everything gets sucked back into the Lord's body until he breathes out again.
At the time of annihilation, the five gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, enter into the mind, intelligence, and false ego, ahankara, and the entire cosmic manifestation enters into the spiritual energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone remains as the origin of everything. The Lord is therefore known as Sheshanag, as Adi Purusha, and by many other names. Srila Prabhupada then includes two paragraphs from Krishna book. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.25 purport.
So, such a massive, huge conception is very difficult for our tiny brains to understand. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he gives some examples. I think it's the next one coming up. Yes, this is it.
As a web is expanded and withdrawn by a spider, as plants grow from the earth, and as hair grows from a living person's head and body, so this universe is generated from the inexhaustible Supreme. This is from Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.7. The exact example is the spider and spider's web. The web is created by the spider, and it is maintained by the spider. And as soon as the spider likes, the whole thing is wound up within the spider. The spider is covered within the web. If an insignificant spider is so powerful as to act according to its will, why can't the Supreme Being act by his supreme will in the creation, maintenance and destruction of the cosmic manifestations?
So everyone's seen the artwork of the spider. From his mouth comes his saliva, and with his saliva he works very, very hard to make a very intricate web. But then, whenever he wants to, he withdraws that saliva, the web, back into his mouth. So just like that, Mahavishnu, with his exhalation, his breathing out, the entire cosmos, very, very complicated, very majestic, very artistically done, everything is created. And then when he breathes in again, just like the spider, he takes his web back in again. That's what Mahavishnu does. He takes it all back into his body again. And then, within material nature, the example of the spider is there. And then we see how the earth is one of the gross material elements. But the seeds within that earth, so many different varieties are taking birth. So according to the seeds of karma, so many different forms of living entities are also taking birth within this cosmic manifestation. And on our own body, we don't even know how it's happening, but the hairs are growing from our body. So this is the amazing, the energy of the Lord that we can't understand, but it's happening within the very body that we're residing in. So that also, the universe, we can't understand the universe, although we're residing within it. But the Supreme Lord, all of that is going on by His energies.
After many millions of years, when Lord Brahma comes to the end of his life, the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation takes place. At that time, the five elements, namely earth, water, fire, air and ether, enter into the Mahat Tattva. The Mahat Tattva again enters, by the force of time, into the non-manifested total material energy. The total material energy enters into the energetic Pradhana, and the Pradhan enters into you. Therefore, after the annihilation of whole cosmic manifestation, you alone remain with your transcendental name, form, quality and paraphernalia. Krishna Book, Chapter 3.
So no one can say when this whole process started, because it's eternal. Krishna is eternal, and when Krishna decided to expand as his pleasure potent Srimati Radharani, that's also eternal. Then on the other side, when he expanded as Balaram as Shankarshan, a second time the Chaturvyuha, then finally Mahavishnu, all of these expansions have been eternally existing. So that's why at the end of the cosmic manifestation, everything enters again into the Lord, and what's left is the eternal pastimes of the Lord that are going on in the spiritual world.
My Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because you are the director of the unmanifested total energy and the ultimate reservoir of material nature. My Lord, the whole cosmic manifestation is under the influence of time, beginning from the moment up to the duration of the year. All act under your direction. You are the original director of everything and the reservoir of all potent energies. Krishna Book, Chapter 3. Yuga.
If anyone is able to see this, this is a chart coming from the Mahabharata of the time frame of Lord Brahma. Just a day and a night of Brahma, which is, a day of Brahma is called one kalpa. And within a kalpa, there's manvantaras. How many? 14 manvantaras. And each manvantara has 71 mahayugas. These mahayuga, these are the divya yugas of the 4 different Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. And one day of Brahma equals a heavenly 12 million years, which in human calculation is 4,320,000,000 years. Yes. So it's completely beyond our calculation. But this is just so that we can understand the massive lifestyle that Lord Brahma has. And these, from Lord Brahma's birth to Lord Brahma's 100 years of lifespan, and then the annihilation takes place at the end of his lifespan, and then Lord Brahma, along with the residents of Brahmaloka, they return to the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha Loka planets, and it takes millions and trillions, crores and crores of years. Therefore, Krishna being so kind, he gives us every opportunity to elevate ourselves, to go back to Godhead in each of his breaths.
O inaugurator of material energy, this wonderful creation works under the control of powerful time, which is divided into seconds, minutes, hours, and years. This element of time, which extends for many millions of years, is but another form of Lord Vishnu. For your pastimes, you act as the controller of time, but you are the reservoir of all good fortune. Let me offer my full surrender unto your Lordship. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.26.
So Devaki, she's offering these prayers long before Krishna manifests his Virata Rupa to Arjuna. She understood all these things as one of the elders. That means that she had heard Srimad Bhagavatam, she knew all the truths about the Supreme Lord, and finally, about 125 years after Krishna's appearance, Krishna manifests this Virata Rupa, the full Virata Rupa, to his friend Arjuna.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kalosmi Lokakshayakrit Pravruddho Lokan Samahartum Iha Pravruttaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. Bhagavad-Gita 11.32. Eventually all the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and everyone else are devoured like a meal by the Supreme. This form of Supreme Lord is the all-devouring giant, and here Krishna presents himself in that form of all-devouring time.
But in the previous prayer, it says that you are the reservoir of all good fortune. So both aspects are there in the universal form. The loving form, Krishna as a friend, and the all-devouring form for the demons. So we have to also remember those two aspects of the Lord when we approach him and not be a demon.
As stated in Brahma Samhita 5.52, Yachakshuresha Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha Teja. Yasyadnyaya brahmati samritakala chakro Govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. The sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. Although we see the cosmic manifestation as gigantic and wonderful, it is within the limitations of Kala, the time factor. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.26 purport.
So the sun god, he's called Surya Narayan. He's a representative of the Supreme Lord Narayan in this planet. And the sun is also considered to be one of the Lord's eyes, the sun and the moon. And without the sun, there would be no life in the universe, because it gives both heat and light. All energy is coming from the sun. But even that powerful sun, who is a representative of the Lord, he's the servant of the Lord. And out of fear of the Supreme Lord, he's moving exactly in his orbit at every second, at an extremely fast pace. But this is all by the desire of the Lord, so that all the planets can get the heat and light required for life.
This time factor is also controlled by Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita. Maya dhakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Bhagavad-Gita 9.10. Prakriti, the cosmic manifestation, is under the control of time. Indeed, everything is under the control of time, and time is controlled by Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Supreme Lord has no fear of the onslaughts of time. Time is estimated according to movements of the sun, Savita. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.26 purport.
So of the 5 factors that Krishna describes in the Bhagavad-Gita, one of them is this eternal time factor. Within the material world, time is calculated because there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end of the cosmic manifestation. But in the spiritual world, time is eternal. And that means every second is we're associating with Krishna, we're engaging in his service, and we're always blissful. We're in our Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. Sat is eternal. So even our form is eternal. Everything in the spiritual world, once we attain this spiritual full knowledge, the Chit potency of understanding Krishna and our relationship with him, then this time factor becomes eternal. There's no more creation, maintenance, and dissolution in the spiritual planets.
Every minute, every second, every day, every night, every month and every year of time can be calculated according to the sun's movements. But the sun is not independent, for it is under the time's control. Pramati Samvrita Kala Chakraha. The sun moves within the Kala Chakra, the orbit of time. The sun is under the control of time, and time is controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord has no fear of time. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.26 purport. In the Smriti Vedic literature it is stated, it is said, Brahma, Shambhu, Surya and Indra are all merely products of the power of Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also true of the many other demigods whose names are not mentioned here. When the cosmic manifestation is annihilated, these different expansions of Narayana's potencies will merge into Narayana. In other words, all these demigods will die, their living force will be withdrawn, and they will merge into Narayana.
So these demigods, they're simply servants of the Supreme Lord with designated potencies given by the Supreme Lord so they can execute their different services within each universe. And when the universe is wound up within the body of the Lord, these demigods also die. So to aspire to attain the heavenly planets, is simply a waste of our valuable time. What we need to do is concentrate on understanding the Supreme Lord Krishna or Vishnu and give up all attachments and all aspirations for anything within this material world and simply become determined to go back to Krishna in the spiritual world in our eternal relationship with Him.
The Lord is addressed here as Avyakta Bandhu, or the inaugurator of the movements of the entire cosmic manifestation. Sometimes the cosmic manifestation is compared to a potter's wheel. When a potter's wheel is spinning, who has set it in motion? It is the potter, of course. Although sometimes we can see only the motion of the wheel and cannot see the potter himself. Therefore, the Lord who is behind the motion of the cosmos is called Avyakta Bandhu. Everything is within the limits of time, but time moves under the direction of the Lord, who is therefore not within time's limit. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.26 purport.
So the potter's wheel, unless the potter sets it in motion, it doesn't move. And once he gets it turning, it moves automatically. So that's the way this cosmic manifestation is. The Supreme Lord sets it into motion, and then after that, it automatically turns for a certain amount of time, and then it stops. So therefore, avyakta means non-manifest. We can't see, while the potter's doing his work, we didn't see that he had started it, but it was the potter who started this whole movement of his wheel, and in the same way, the Supreme Lord, though we can't see him do it, he's the one who starts this cosmic manifestation.
No one in this material world has become free from the four principles of birth, death, old age and disease, even by fleeing to various planets. But now that you have appeared, my Lord, death is fleeing in fear of you, and the living entities, having obtained shelter at your lotus feet by your mercy, are sleeping in full mental peace. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.27.
So this is the quality of a devotee, just as we had heard that when Krishna made his appearance, everything became auspicious, and the Brahmins were able to, with a peaceful mind, they were able to do their yagyas and perform their different ritualistic activities. So for the devotees, when they take shelter of the Supreme Lord, they have no more fear. They don't even fear death. Because for a devotee, as Bhakti-yoga Thakur prays, he said, whatever condition I'm in, just let me be your devotee. So even at the time of death, the Supreme Lord is just like a little kitten in the mouth of the mother cat, whereas the demon is like a rat in the mouth of the cat. The kitten knows that the mother's going to protect it at all times, and the rat knows that this mother's going to kill it and eat it. So this Kala principle, as Krishna showed Arjuna in the universal form, everything gets eaten like a meal. In the Sanskrit, it's compared to, because everything's getting sucked in between his teeth, mashed up like kitri, it says. So that's out of fear, they try to flee to different planets to escape death. But within the material world, there's no escape from death until one becomes a peaceful devotee of the Lord, and then death is just like a mother cat to her. Her.
There are different categories of living entities, but everyone is afraid of death. The highest aim of the karmis is to be promoted to higher heavenly planets, where the duration of life is very long. As stated in Bhagavad-Gita 8.17, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyat Brahmano Viduhu. One day of Brahma equals 1000 yugas, and each yuga consists of 4.3 million years. Similarly, Brahma has a night of 1000 times 4.3 million years. In this way, we may calculate Brahma's month and year, but even Brahma, who lives for millions and millions of years, Viparardha Kala, also must die. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.27 purport.
So the materialists, they call devotees fatalists. They say, why are you always thinking of death? Just live. Just do it, right? So the devotees are thinking of death because death is the final examination. Whatever we're thinking of at the time of death, that's where we'll go. So if we can train ourselves now to think of Krishna, then we can go to Krishna. But if we're thinking of anything else, or if we put our energies into any other destination, then we'll still be bound here again, birth after birth in the material world.
According to the Vedic Shastra, the inhabitants of higher planetary systems live for 10,000 years. Just as Brahma's day is calculated to equal 4300 million of our years, one day in the higher planetary systems equals 6 of our months. Karmis therefore try for promotion to the higher planetary systems, but this cannot free them from death. In this material world, everyone from Brahma to the insignificant ant must die. Therefore this world is called Martya Loka. As Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita 8.16, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. As long as one is within this material world, either on Brahma Loka or on any other Loka within this universe, one must undergo the Kala Chakra of one life after another. Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. Bhagavad Gita 8.19 is the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.27 purport.
So one morning we were on a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada. It was in Brooklyn, New York. And New York it's like a jungle, a concrete jungle. Everything is made out of concrete. And the pavements, in between the cracks of each of the concrete pavement blocks, sometimes some little pieces of grass grow. So Prabhupada was walking and he pointed with his cane and he said, where did this grass come from? And nobody could answer. Everyone knew that nobody had planted it. So how did it come there? So Prabhupada explained to us, he said that the living entities who attain the heavenly planets, when they've used up all of their pious credits, they fall down as seeds from the heavenly planets, and they take birth as these pieces of grass. And then the animals eat the grass, they enter into the semen of the animal, and they take an animal body, and gradually they're elevated up to the human form of life. So there's no escape. Even if we get to the heavenly planets, this Kala Chakra, we must fall down again until we become perfected in our consciousness of always remembering Krishna. So this picture is a Buddhist representation of that Virata Roop, or this Kala Chakra. Because originally, we know that Lord Buddha, an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, he preached that one should give up all desires and aspire for nirvana, because he wanted the people to stop performing the animal sacrifices recommended in the Vedas. But even within that Buddhism, in their Sanskrit texts, this Kala Chakra is described. And in many other religions also, Kala Chakra is there. That this wheel of time, the only way to get out of the wheel of time is by taking shelter of that person who started the wheel of time, that potter, that Avyakta Bandhu. So if we take shelter of him, the Supreme Lord, then he becomes our Bandhu, our friend.
But if one returns to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yad Gatvana Nivartante, Bhagavad-Gita 15.6, one need not re-enter the limits of time. Therefore, devotees who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Supreme Lord can sleep very peacefully with this assurance from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita 4.9, Tyaktva deham punarjanmanaiti. After giving up the present body, a devotee who has understood Krishna as he is need not return to this material world. The constitutional position of the living entity is eternity. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire nityah shashvatoyam purano. Bhagavad Gita 2.20. Every living entity is eternal, but because of having fallen into this material world, one wanders within this universe, continually changing from one body to another. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.27 purport.
So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam janmanamante jnanavam mam prapadyante. Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlavaha. So to try to understand this Vasudev, it might take many, many lifetimes. And therefore, just as Srila Sanatana Goswami, he wrote the Brihad Bhagavatamrita as an odyssey, a pilgrim's progress back to the Supreme Lord. Gopakumar, he went to all the different spheres of life, and he was just looking for his friend. And finally, he returned to the spiritual world, and Krishna, when he saw him, he embraced him so tightly that Krishna himself lost consciousness out of love. So our real place is in the spiritual world with Krishna. He's just waiting for us to come back so we can be his friend, his lover, his mother, his father, his servant, whatever our relationship is with him. And he's just calling us back, and we can easily go there in one lifetime if we take the instructions of our spiritual master seriously.